text to give them. Just so you know, I opened it up because Neil had to set it up. So, why? Oh, and I believe Rachel has a presentation. So I'm gonna share the screen.
Hello, Larry.
Yes, can you hear me?
It's Henry Dumbalay. How are you?
Very good. How are you doing?
Very, very good. Thanks. Very good.
Are we the only ones on?
No, we have Fiona's on. We have Joe. We got Peter now. Jamie's on.
Pete, we pulled you out of retirement for this one. Surprise, you get to chair.
Hey,
Thank you so much, Pete. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You were going to get you to finalize the chair. So I think we are just waiting on, we have another minute, but in the meantime, we're waiting on Melissa's excuse today. We just need Cecile, and then we can
Okay.
open by the quorum. The mayor's not going to be with us today. Pete, I know Fiona let you know that you'll be chairing today.
Right. Okay.
We're expecting Michael Curdy, correct, Jamie?
Yes, he just called. He's jumping on. We're still waiting for a couple of the projects that are on agenda for their presenters to jump on as well.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
I just want to let everyone know, council is running a few minutes behind and we are still waiting for a couple, we're waiting for one of the board members and some of the other participants. So we're running probably 5-10 minutes behind.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
How's everyone?
Good, how are
Good.
you? We're just running a few minutes behind. We're waiting for a couple of our board members to join and council. So we're just, we have another 5 minutes or so.
No worries. And sorry, we're a few minutes behind. Lou, thank you for sending that
Sorry,
email out.
you got a little confusing on me there.
Yeah, Kevin, we didn't have the 4 o'clock call. So thanks for checking in.
No problem.
How are things in Yonkers today?
So. We just had a police-involved shooting about an hour ago. So we have an officer in the hospital, and hopefully he'll be okay. But
It's terrible.
that's why the mayor won't be joining us today.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Not a great way to start the call, but obviously we
Well,
hope he is okay. And then
yeah, we all hope so.
We're just waiting on our last board member who should be joining any moment.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Cecile, how are you?
Hello,
Good,
Cecile.
good. Hi, Jim. Your
How we
trip
doing?
looked great, Jim.
Oh, yeah, it was a
It
wonderful.
looked terrific. I was
it
going to
was a-
go trekking with you.
You would have loved it. You would have loved it. It was a great trip. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good food, nice people, good, and amazing sights. Yeah.
So that's great.
Jamie, at this point, we're just waiting for Curdy. Is that it?
We're waiting for Curdy and Roberto.
Okay.
So tell us more about your trip. Fill us in. Where were you?
Yes, yes.
The rest of us are curious.
It was Peru. Went to Lima and Cusco, where Machu Picchu is, and saw the Aztec ruins. And Lima. It's a beautiful, beautiful city on the coast of Peru. Yeah, it was a trip that was planned a couple of years ago and keep getting delayed due to COVID, but it finally happened.
So I've got to ask, did you do the 4-day hike or did you take the train?
Oh, we took the train. We did not do the 4-day hike. We took the train.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I'm not much of a camper or a hike. Well, I don't mind hiking, but not for 4 days. No, it's a great train ride.
Okay, we have our final board member that joined. Curdy's not on yet. Jim, I don't know. Do you want to wait on Curdy or? Should we get started?
Why don't we get going?
Okay. All right, so Pete will be chairing today. I'll start with the roll call. We have Mayor Mike Spano, who's excused. Peter Kishak,
Here.
Marlon Anderson,
Here,
Melissa Nassarino is excused. Cecile Singer,
here.
Henry Jambalai.
Here.
And Roberto Espiritu. Okay, Mr. Vice Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, resolutions for consideration.
So the first item we have, if you recall, this was an item that was tabled at our last meeting. This is an inducement resolution for St. Clair Development LLC. This is a 75-unit workforce housing project slated for the corner of 38 Main and Riverdale Avenue. We do have representatives here for the project. Joe Apicella is with us again, as well as counsel on the project, Diana Kolev.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a prayer for the officer who's injured.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Joe.
So we're back before you. We wanted to revise some of our information, which was indicated to us. We needed to address some of our numbers as it relates to the average median income. We have done that. The project before you is the same project that was there I believe it was last month, last meeting. I can quickly go through this. This project will create, it is an all affordable project. It's 76 units. Sorry to correct you, Jamie. It's 76 units, 240 jobs on construction side, and 15 to 20 jobs on the permanent side, FTE. There's no mortgage exemption being considered because we will get that through the state HFA. We are requesting a pilot for which we have paid for an analysis by the IDA, yet to be determined on the proposed pilot. It is a 30-year pilot, as mentioned last time, and that 30 years runs coterminous with the mortgages on a all affordable project, which we are required to have a 30-year pilot in this instance. Again, 76 units, all affordable. We provided a detailed breakout to Jamie. I think she may want to share that with you. And in addition to that, we have approximately 2,000 square feet of retail. We envision a service-oriented retailer at this site. This site is such a critical corner at the critical corner of the waterfront downtown, Riverdale and Main Street. We've taken some great care with the design of the building, as you can see. It's a beautifully designed building intended to be sustainable over time, LEED's silver designation, as well as a green roof area. We're going to use the cooperative and work with NYSERDA on this project. This was in the historic district, and we worked with the landmarks board on both the design and the waiver on the Richard Haas district, which was garnered. We have full approvals for this project, site plan and otherwise. We think this project works beautifully in the downtown and would be something that is sustainable and create a very nice entree into the waterfront. I'm happy to answer any and all questions. We're anxious to move forward. Our applications are before the state for financing and the county of Westchester as well.
And I might add the mayor, again, who can't be with us today because the other situation, is in support of this project. The board members recall that the mayor asked it to be tabled at the last meeting. That's because he wanted to further explore the average median income levels that were being proposed. And I think his feeling was that some of the levels that were being proposed were a little bit duplicative of what the housing authority does, either through its own housing or through the Section 8 program. So he had asked Joe and the crew to come back with a slightly higher AMI mix, which they've done. So now it's geared more towards, it's more of a workforce housing type situation. We can, talk specifically about the AMI levels, but they're a little higher than was originally proposed, and that was the reason why the mayor wanted Joe just to rework it a little bit.
Jim, could you just tell us what the levels are currently now with the new
Yeah.
proposal?
We're going to put it up on the screen here what the unit mix is.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, all
Yeah.
right. So you can
So,
see,
so
right?
yeah, so you'll see it's geared towards 50,
Yes.
60, and 80% of AMI. I think there might have been some 35% AMI units originally. I'm not 100% sure, but
There were 40 that were replaced. 40 was
yeah,
taken out.
40, yeah. And this is this level still qualifies for the state incentives. So
Right. Well, certainly is something, the design of which it would certainly stand with anything else in the city. So that's very good to see. And certainly it's a plus for the people who will be able to qualify to live there. So it looks like a really great project.
yeah, it's a nice looking building. And, it fits in with the city's goal to have neighborhoods that aren't entirely high-end market or entirely, the opposite. I mean, this is going to be a workforce housing building, but is literally going to be, a block away from Sawyer Place, which is one of the more expensive market rate developments downtown. So it really, provides a well economically integrated neighborhood.
Okay, so can we make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Okay,
Jambalaya has the motion, and who was the second?
Marlon, second.
Marlon, thank you.
Marlon.
Okay, that item is passed. We're moving on to our second item. Congratulations, Joe and your group. You can jump off the call if you'd like.
Thank you so much,
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Acting Chairman, and members of the board.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you, Joe.
Our next item is a resolution authorizing the change in ownership of the Ridge Hill project to Ridge Hill Owner LLC and Ridge Hill Property Owner LLC. This is for the authorization of a transfer and assignment. We have representatives here from the project. I'm not sure, they have a brief presentation for you. I'm not sure who exactly is presenting, but we have from Nuveen and North American, Todd Rowlands, Tim Perry. We also have Michael Curdy, I believe, jumped on the line now here to represent the transaction.
Before we turn it over to Naveen, Jamie, I'll just briefly go over the resolution that's before the board. This is a proposed resolution to authorize the transfer of the Ridge Hill facility from its current owners, which is Quick, an Australian company, to a joint venture of Nuveen and some other development partners that they will talk a little bit about during their presentation that you're about to hear. This resolution before the IDA is simply to authorize the transfer to the new Nuveen joint venture entity for their management of the project on a go-forward basis. There is a resolution before the Yonkers Economic Development Corporation Board, which is to authorize mortgage recording tax for the new money portion of their acquisition. They're assuming the existing debt on the property, and then they're also incurring new debt of approximately $14.3 million. That is not part of the resolution that's before this board, but I just wanted this board to be aware that the corporation will be considering that resolution at its meeting following this board meeting. So I think at this point in time, I'll turn it over to the Nuveen representatives to talk a little bit about their acquisition of the project and what they plan on doing with the project going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for your time this afternoon. My name is Tim Perry. I'm the managing partner in North American Properties. I'm happen to be based in Atlanta, but North American Properties is going to be responsible as the operating partner for the operations and takeover here at Ridge Hill. I'm joined by my co-partners, both New York-based, Todd Rollins, who is with Nuveen, and Chris Balestra, who is with Taconic, as well as Kevin Polston, who is with North American Properties in our New Jersey office, and will be responsible for on-the-ground property management, specifically there at Ridge Hill. So if you have just a few minutes, we'd like to very briefly kind of bring you up to speed on the transaction, which we are targeting to close next week. Very excited to make a large investment and to be a part of the community, and very excited to get started working with all of you, your constituents, and just the community at large. In our assessment so far, the biggest mismanagement in some ways from our previous, from the seller, from the previous owner, has been an institutional focus on cash flow and tenants, and not enough of focus on how the world has changed, and retail in particular has changed as generational psychographics have gotten shorter, and behaviors and buying patterns have certainly been altered over the last 10 years or so since this was constructed. So I'm going to share real quick. I'm just going to share real quick a brief share. Assuming everyone can now see product, the full screen mode. There we go. So everyone is looking at what I see here, which is a Ridge Hill proposal. Yes.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'll start by kind of mentioned North American Properties. We're privately held. We're based in Cincinnati. I'm behind net worth family there. We have developed over the years over 22 million square feet of commercial space, a lot of multifamily housing, office buildings, and currently the strategy for the group that happens to be based in Atlanta with development offices in Florida and Dallas, Ohio, and Atlanta, is to acquire large mixed-use assets that otherwise we would have developed at a purchase price that makes it that is able to turn it around and really embrace the community, which is there, and really enhance the division and the brand associated with the property, which attracts retailers, attracts restaurants, and attracts people there. And Todd or Chris, you want to give a quick hit on Nuveen and Taconic?
Yeah, hey, Todd Rollins here, Nuveen Real Estate. I'm in the New York office. I run retail for the Northeast region, Midwest region, and then urban across the Americas. Nuveen is the wholly owned asset manager of TICREF, and we are a very large owner of retail across the U.S. and the world, and we're looking very much forward to getting started with this project. Over to you, Chris.
Right. So as you speak, tell us what you will do differently than has been done. How do you view this? You're making an investment. What do you expect, and how?
Sure. So you jumped forward to like my next couple slides.
Okay,
But I'll get right there. Chris, do you want to say something real quick about Taconic?
Yeah, really quickly, Taconic's a 25-year-old New York City-based owner, operator, developer, many mixed-use projects, residential, commercial, life science, retail. And probably as important, I'm a Westchester resident. I shop at Ridge Hill, and I'm fully invested here in making it better and for the community at large.
So Cecile, to your question, as I was talking about North American and what we do, we focus, we call it building community before we build community. We really focus on the space between the buildings first. It's the easiest thing to fix. It's the easiest thing to fill. You've got to staff it correctly. You have to do, there's a lot that goes into it, whether it's social media these days or marketing teams that haven't been there, for the last several years anyway, the last 5 years or so that QIC has owned it. And it's just been, collect the rent, sweep the streets, that kind of stuff. Small things that you don't notice, or as we like to say, you never notice what's right when everything's right, but you notice what's wrong when it's wrong. And as you go from walking from end to end in different music or the lack of lighting or the lack of activation kind of throughout, but they haven't really focused on those common areas in that public realm and that energy that you get from getting people here, and really in some ways damaged Ridge Hill from a destination and made it almost more of a necessity. I will go if I'm taking my kid to Legoland. I will go if I'm going to Apple. I'll go and I'll grocery shop. But we want this to be a place where people go and dwell, where on a Friday afternoon or a Saturday on a nice day, this is where you go and you eat where you can get in and enjoy the day, with friends and family celebrating. So to do that, we kind of look at things that all of these mixed-use centers probably have in common: access, visibility, and parking, architecturally appealing, they would be functionally relevant, meaning not a lot of circular blocks, community focused, very active. There's a 6 a.m. coffee dog walker on the way to work, all the way through a playoff game that may run until midnight. Relevant merchandising, technology integration, and then we, just like Disney refers to their team as cast members, we refer to our team as experience makers, to the point where we even trademarked that word. Put everyone, whether they're internal or external, security, custodial, you name it, parking, all goes through hospitality training so that we interact with the community. And all of these things, if fixable, are things that we can do. And specifically to Ridge Hill, pardon me, we actually put everyone, like I said, through hospitality training. We brought the Ritz-Carlton Institute in years ago and trained the trainers. The staff here on site will go from a general manager and a marketing person,
when you get inside.
engineer to GM, assistant GM, marketing coordinator, event coordinator, social media, accounting, engineering, parking management, all of them now part of the ownership team and all focused on the property. And a lot of it's operational. So, I like to say the 5-star resort hospitality, year-round programming, ice skating rinks in the winter, and retail that surrounds it, serving hot chocolate, versus in the summer, it might be live music on a Friday and snow cones. Walkable street level experience, just some things that we would do differently. Closing down streets, we would open those back up and bring the cars in and define that public from vehicular realm. A sense of place with a unique story. We promote healthy living. We curate dining, retail, and services experience. Amenity rich. So there's a lot of amenities here. They're just not really put into service. And then, ESG focus. So the big one the two we'll start with will be the memorable experiences. So our marketing team, even with what is there's enough plaza and enough turf to come in and start bringing that activation, whether it's Wellness Wednesdays and Toddler Tuesdays and Live Music Fridays, signature events that as we get our hands on it and understand the community, and which differ, right? And one property, 4th of July is sacred. That's their big event every year. In other places, it's St. Patrick's Day. In other places, it's Labor Day weekend. So we really work with what's already there in place and bring it even more. At some of our other properties like Avalon and Alpharetta, we have 50,000 people show up for our annual tree lighting. We'll have 5,000 people show up at a menorah lighting. They just show up to be there and convene and socialize, especially these days. What that looks like, went too far. What that looks like here at Ridge Hill specifically, you see here a site plan. I'm good. I need quiet for just a moment. I apologize. End of the day, because things open the conference room door. One, the heart of the property. So management really is been focused on that plaza near Whole Foods. The heart of the property is the heart of the property. And as the different experiences go from block to block to block. So we activate the central plaza. You can see there in number 1, these prime retail corners where PF Chang's used to be in building F1. That may be the best space in the entire center because it's going to let us bring in a food and beverage option that residents in Yonkers and Westchester County don't have to leave to go enjoy, right? Something that's getting closer to home, something that's going to be date night. And then building B and C, those remain as kind of your soft goods. We call that a dwell block. You stroll around and you enjoy the tenants that are there. You grab something to eat or an event in the plaza. Maybe on the way home, you're stopping by Whole Foods and you're grabbing the groceries for that evening or going to set up. 3, bringing community events into the fountain. So the fountain plaza with Lego, with the movies, with a little bit more playfulness, we'll continue energizing that toward and organize events that are really focused on that sort of family and community event. Number 4, Lord and Taylor. It's a big building, and that building will, the ground floor is really essential because it needs to have something that's a lot more active than a department store, think sports bar, and have something that's market facing. So the whole 2nd Street, Market Street and Plaza, that really collectively becomes the active center of the property, not just one piece, and it needs to be the heart. And then number 5, parking operations, and they will resume. I think QIC they were going to drop the gates January 1st. We were under contract, and given the state, honestly, of the equipment and the lack of connectivity on the property, we paused that to bring technology into it so that it's all license plate cameras and it's all app based on your phone. So it's a seamless process. We get to keep all of those traffic corridors through the parking decks open rather than dropping gates and starting to charge you. And that's sort of as you come in off of Ridge Hill Boulevard and you drive up, where you're going to your doctor's office on your left. When you get to that intersection, you feel like the music, the lights, and the people in the plaza. It draws you to it. It draws you down the boulevard, and it takes Market Street and shrinks it so that it's not such a, oh, that's a long walk. Kind of takes away that perception. Some of the ideas here around that central plaza, you see on Market Street, that's a raised traffic table. That's something that cars bump up on. It flattens, so as you go from the plaza over onto the curb, there are no curbs, there are no step ups. It really connects that space, and at the same time, it slows down traffic. Along 2nd Street, you see that white box there, and that is a concierge building. So that actually brings concierge and valet. So it's here are the events we're doing. Here's this. Our concierge members, when we put it in place, run the events. They're out there in shorts doing the kid events, or they're out there in yoga working with our tenants. We always use our tenants to promote our events. There'll be public restrooms and a stage. It's covered, so you can do things in all weather. It'll have the lights and all the sound, everything wired, so it's not just someone setting up a speaker on a pole. That feels very, very, contrived. And then the Central Plaza, what you can't see, the Central Plaza itself, looking back toward the Lord and Taylor building, we have an LED screen. We'll really enhance these patios. We'll get the vehicles here parked parallel, create a great definition between the pedestrian and the vehicular realms, and give people comfort, and just kind of slows down the heart of the property, and then brings the lights, the music, and the fun and the activation into it. The small retailer that are there, like I said, think more seasonal, right? Ice cream doesn't sell all year round, but ice cream may sell in the summer, and hot chocolate may sell in the winter. Snow cones may sell in the summer, and s'mores may sell in the winter. And it's really more about, in that space, providing something for the community to come and spend their day, spend their time dwelling, and give them something to do. And so it's the right mix of necessity. You're going to come to TJ Maxx. You're going to come to the doctor. You're going to come to Apple or Whole Foods for your groceries. Service, where you've got nails and salons, fitness, LA Fitness had previously an exclusive, so now we can bring some of those boutique fitness and Pilates and such in. And then your experience, great food and beverage restaurants, competitive socialization, and tenants such as that. Here's sort of a rough view looking back from the Lord and Taylor building of what this might look like with the concierge building, live music there in the background. And then looking the other way, this clear cube in front of you is actually where the concierge building sits. Looking back at this, 16 by 22 screen that lets us use that event, whether it's an Olympics opening ceremony or it's a regional sports event, or it's a celebration, lets us use that screen and continue activating the heartbeat. And then from there, the leasing strategy is to get that part right, especially that old former PF Chang's space from an F&B standpoint, and then lease out. Let it grow toward the north, our more soft goods blocks, toward the south, become a little bit more daily need and services. You don't, dwell necessarily on a block with such big tenants as the Container Store and Whole Foods, but you dwell in those boutiques that go between the theater block and this. And we've got to enhance those, and we got to get better. What tenants need more than ever these days is to feel like they're not going to be in another retail center that is trending downward. Every tenant that's there asks the same thing, and tenants that are coming, they want to feel like their brand more than ever, because they've been burned by too many dying malls. They need to feel like their brand is protected and it's enhanced and it's part of the future story. And that's why we like to say here, it's not about the stores, it's about the stories. The events and the things that bring people to the center drive that traffic, which creates the sales, which creates the story and attracts the stores. And the stores will be responsive to the market demand. The social media is responsive to the market demand. We have proposals on almost every property during the holidays. And you know what? It's kind of funny. Sometimes it's the guy, sometimes it's the girl. Oftentimes it's their parents who call up and say, "Hey, can you help my son? He's going to propose and he wants to do something special." Gender reveals and coloring the fountains. I mean, all of that stuff we're open to, because it's all things that people do as part of their daily lives, and we want Ridge Hill to be part of those daily lives. Like I said, signature events. We use our tenants for this. So it's going to Lego and saying, "Hey, let's have you, come out of your store and come into the plaza, come into that kids plaza, and let's and do something with us." It's bringing the Pilates or the yoga or the Lululemons out of their store and engaged in that wellness. And it's bringing our restaurants and our food and our beverage into these live events that we throw in the common areas. Tenant participation, retailer focused, restaurant focused, and traffic driving and awareness. Those are kind of where we focus and what we want to use the space between the buildings for. Like I said in the beginning, it's about the space between the buildings, not about the space inside the buildings, where you have to start this story and start this investment. Here's comedy that we do. You can see this is the first Monday, I think, of every month at this particular property. We have a comedy show. The second Wednesday at this particular property, we do Ladies Night Out. And it is amazing how many hours people will wait in line at a concierge booth to get a swag bag, a glass of wine, and some coupons. But these are all things that we want people to come out to. And then there's wellness, and then maybe my favorite when it really comes to community. This is one that we do at one of our properties called Noon to Night, and it's a fashion show where our retailers provide the clothes. The benefactor of this, we sell tickets. The benefactor of this is an organization that sends kids with cancer to Disney World down in Florida, and the kids get to be the models. So these are, kids that are often kind of insecure about certain things themselves. They get to be the models. They get to go on the runway, and it's exceptionally professionally done. And it raises, $60,000 or $70,000 a year for this cause. But it just gets everyone in the community. Everyone, even those who don't buy tickets and are standing around the outside, it's not that exclusive. People who are buying tickets there are doing so because they want to be part of that experience. And that's how we operate, and that's the story we tell and how we merchandise.
It certainly looks very interesting. It certainly looks very interesting. But and of course, as you certainly understand, the retail are the bones of the thing, and so getting it right is not simple. in a very competitive marketplace. And so you have a methodology. And so what, all right, so what socioeconomic level will you be trying to hit? Do you have, what's your view?
Well, often the properties aren't large enough to be more than to a very specific segment. And I think that the segments that's here has been right in the middle, and it's probably alienated a little bit above and below, right? You've got to have better, a different classification maybe of food and beverage. There's not quite enough quick serve, right, to go in and grab a slice of pizza. But at the same time, you need an elevated experience so that it's not, I want to go to the doctor, or I'm going to take my kid to a party at Legoland and grab something to eat while I'm there. There are only so many times that Yard House and Cheesecake and Public Burger are going to satisfy that. Sometimes you want a nice glass of wine with your wife or your husband while you're there waiting, or before or after that. So we've got to broaden it a good bit. We really were attracted to the idea that there was that TJ Maxx, Dick's, really in people's daily lives component. And then that absence a little bit of the boutique fitness and the aspirational side of the Warby Parkers and Lululemons, that sort of aspirational tenant. So depending on where you put it, and that's why the programming of those plazas, Cecile, is so important. You got to kind of get the right tenants around the right area. There are tenants will have to move. There's a little bit of Tetris that you play with them. There are entire blocks that intentionally, for instance, the block to the north of the plaza, north of Lord and Taylor, those we will intentionally keep very soft goods focused, very smaller soft goods focused, because that's the dwell block, right? To put a small 1,500 square foot tenant down between two large boxes doesn't get the traffic that they need there either. So there's a lot of thought that goes into merchandising it, and where you hold the events and how you build people live. It's a lot of square footage, and the community support is already evident in some of the sales that are very strong, and it's also evident in some of the sales that are very weak. And I think that's the biggest indicator that you can see, as far as there are always corporate issues with some retailers, but that's the biggest indicators. What you can see is what's responsive and what's not. We've got to have a lot more food and beverage, and a lot more of a destination that people think, what am I going to do today? Oh, we're going to go to Ridge Hill. I needed to stop in this store anyway. I need to return something there. There's a great sushi restaurant. There's a great Italian restaurant. We don't have to get on a train or go into the city. Let's go to Ridge Hill, catch a movie after dinner. And it's really that emotional connection that gets people there and drives our merchandising.
Well, it sounds very good. And as you know, it's very important to all of us in the city that you be successful in this. So good luck.
We appreciate it. And we don't have our hands around it yet with the closing next week. But as we do, we look forward to working with y'all, and any assistance that we ever need, we appreciate the partnership, and I'm sure we'll be talking in the future.
I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
You have the right to build up to 500 residential units on the portion of Ridge Hill that you're going to own. Have you given any thought to whether you're going to exercise that or not?
We would like to exercise that. Yes.
Okay.
So we've got that right. We've got to figure out how to do it on that site. I think over time, there's a lot of development skeletons here, and over time, those have been moved around the sites. We've got to get them in the right spot, Mr. Kavanaugh. But at the end of the day, at 5:30 or 6, when people go home from Ridge Hill, as the stores close, we also need people who are coming home to Ridge Hill and dropping their stuff and wanting to go out and enjoy, watching TV or enjoy dinner or, whatever, or and enjoy the events. So at all of the properties that we manage, that mix of uses, and ironically, I'm in a city hall building right now in Peachtree Corners, Georgia. And my meeting at 5 o'clock is with the city council person to talk about that exact same thing. The importance of specifically rental, not owned, but rental in a tight little town center area, and how important that is to the retailers and how important it is to the community. You got to have people who come home to the property, not just leave and go home at the end of the day. And that creates that 18-hour. I want someone coming out of those apartments at 6 a.m. who's walking their dog because there's a dog park, because there's a coffee shop where they want to go and catch up on their emails or their social media.
Thanks.
So where is the property for the 500 potential construction sites?
It's located on the actually buildings sitting on top of the pads where those are entitled currently. So that's why I say there are challenges and things we have to work through. And given that we don't even own it yet, the evaluation of those is has been somewhat limited. But that's the I think the important piece. It adds the density. It doesn't spread it out. It brings the bodies onto the street.
Thank you.
Do we need a vote?
Yeah, I just want to say something. You know, one of the biggest knocks on Ridge Hill when they first opened up was people paying for parking. I heard that a lot from a lot of people. What is your opinion on that?
Well, that's something we'll have to get into and see. I think the given the structure of some of those decks and the upkeep from them, you know, paid some fee for parking is going to be essential to being able to operate and upkeep that in some sort of manner. They haven't the last few years, and it's reflected, I think, in a lot of deferred maintenance, a lot of issues that we've identified with those parking decks. In particular, I think the biggest, and we've just started in the community, I think a big part of the parking issue is not the 350 that it was costing, but the lack of connection through the site, and that you had to pull into a deck and you couldn't get out, you couldn't pull through the deck. It wasn't like you could go through it to get from one side to the other. And then if you left that deck because you parked down by Lego and you wanted to go and stop by Whole Foods on the way home, you had to put money in and pay again and lift the arm and all that other kind of stuff. What we're doing, we actually have our own parking company, is you pull in, you scan just like you do at a restaurant, the QR code. You can take a picture of your license plate and Apple Pay and be done. And it'll be an hourly experience. So if you had to go down and pull in and at Legoland for an hour, then you wanted to go to Whole Foods, you would do just that. You go, you get a Whole Foods. You're not paying twice. It's based on the whole property. There are no more gates that go up and down, so it connects and you can flow through the property. And we'll have valet that'll have some sort of premium cost, maybe $7. But the decks themselves, and just for the upkeep, what we found is there's significant maintenance and costs that need to be offset in those decks themselves. And we'd ask QSC, don't drop the gates. Just I don't know how you get through the site if you eliminated all of those as vehicular corridors versus keeping them down.
Okay.
There used to be a trolley there. Do you know what happened to that trolley?
I do not, but now I'm really curious.
It was great to see it going up and down.
Maybe Todd, you happen to have dibs on a trolley somewhere we can grab?
I have to look. Yeah, I don't think we have any inventory anywhere, but that's a great idea. I think that's definitely look at.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Jamie, I don't think we have anything else.
Okay, so we just need to, we need a motion on this.
So move the approve.
Cecile has a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Pete will take the second. Okay, so that item is passed. We have no other business on our end. I don't know if Michael Curdy has any legal updates for the board?
No legal updates.
No legal updates. Congratulations to the soon-to-be new owners of Ridge Hill. And then we just need a motion to adjourn, Pete.
Make a motion. Okay.
Second.
Cecile and Henry. All right, thank you, gentlemen.